When your boss becomes a screen, are you still free? Let's start with a very small scene. A delivery rider falls on the street. The bike is on the ground. The food bag has spilled open. The phone is still glowing. If you were standing nearby, your first thought would probably be, is this person okay? But for many workers, the first thought may be something stranger. They look at the phone. How many minutes are left? Will this be late? Will the rating drop? Will the next order disappear? That is the strange part. A person falls. Before the pain fully arrives, the screen has already spoken. This is not only a story about delivery riders. Delivery is just the doorway. The real question is bigger. When your boss becomes a screen, are you actually more free? For years, the promise of gig work has sounded beautiful. Work when you want. Log on when you want. Take a job when you want. Take a break when you want. No office. No punch clock. No manager standing over your shoulder. For someone tired of being trapped in a company, that sounds like freedom. You open an app. The city becomes your workplace. But after a while, a different question starts to appear. You can choose when to enter the app. But once you are inside, who chooses the rules? Who sets the price? Who sets the time? Who decides which jobs you see? Who decides whether a delay was your fault? And who absorbs the risk when the real world does not move as smoothly as the map? That is where the word freedom starts to change shape. It looks like independent work. But if you look carefully, it begins to look like a factory without walls. The old factory had a gate. It had a workshop. It had a line. It had a foreman. Today, those things did not vanish. They scattered. The gate became a login button. The workshop became the whole city. The assembly line became a route map and a countdown clock. The foreman became an algorithm. And this road is older than the smartphone. Pull the camera back a little. More than 100 years ago, factories were already learning how to take control away from workers without always shouting at them. One of the key names was Frederick Taylor. Taylor would stand near workers with a stopwatch. One movement, another movement. Lift, turn, pause, repeat. He wanted to find the most efficient way to work. On paper, it was productivity. But for the worker, something deeper was happening. A skilled worker used to carry a lot of knowledge in the body. How to move, when to slow down, when to speed up, how to save strength, how to get through the day. The stopwatch took that knowledge apart. The movement became measurable. The rhythm became measurable. The pause became measurable. And once something can be measured, it can be taken away from the person who used to control it. Management could say, "We have calculated the best way. Now you follow it." That is the coldest part of scientific management. It does not just manage whether you work. It starts to manage how you work. Then came the assembly line. The worker no longer had to decide what came next. The next task arrived in front of them. The worker did not set the rhythm. The line set the rhythm. Many people imagine factory control as a boss yelling at workers. But a more advanced kind of control does not need to yell. It designs the rhythm. Then people run to keep up. Now look back at the app. The stopwatch did not disappear. It moved into the phone. The assembly line did not disappear. It spread across the streets. In the old factory, parts moved along the line. In the new factory, people move across the city. In the old factory, the worker chased the speed of the line. In the new factory, the worker chases the time on the screen. That is the hidden trick of algorithmic management. It does not lock you inside a building. so you feel free. But it cuts the city into tasks. It cuts time into countdowns. It cuts people into available positions on a map. You look like you are moving through the city, but you may already be standing on an invisible line. In China, one famous article described delivery riders as being trapped inside the system. What made that story painful was not only that the job was hard. Everyone already knows the job is hard. The painful part was that the danger was being produced little by time itself. The platform wants faster delivery. The customer wants faster delivery. The merchant is pushed to move faster. And in the end, all of that faster lands on the person in the street. An elevator is slow. A gate does not open. A restaurant is late. A red light lasts too long. It rains. The road gets slippery. The real world has friction. But the countdown keeps moving. The screen does not become gentler because the elevator is slow. It does not feel the rain. It does not return the anxiety to the merchant when the food is not ready. Those few minutes on the screen become a hand pushing the worker forward. And this is not just a Chinese story. In the United States, Human Rights Watch released a report on platform work called the Gig Trap. The report describes how workers can be managed by opaque systems that set pay, assign work, and control access to future opportunities. Pew Research Center has also found that app-based gig work has become part of everyday income for many Americans, not just a tiny side story on the edge of the economy. Different countries, different apps, different laws. But the mechanism is familiar. The worker is told, "You are independent," but the interface decides what independence is worth. At this point, someone will say, well, they can just decline the job. They can log off. And that sounds reasonable, but it only says half the truth. A person can decline one job. The question is what happens after declining. Less income? Lower priority? Fewer good offers? A weaker rating? More waiting time? If leaving is allowed, but leaving means you cannot pay rent, then how much freedom is that? Real freedom is not a button that says exit. Real freedom is having another road after you press it. This is the clever part of platform labor. It breaks management into 3 knobs. The first knob is price. How much is the job worth? When does a bonus appear? When does it vanish? How is distance calculated? How is bad weather calculated? The worker usually does not set those rules. The second knob is time. How fast must the job be done? What counts as late? Which route is suggested? Which order gets priority? The system writes those rules into the interface. The third knob is reputation, ratings, complaints, cancellations, on-time rates, activity levels. They look like service quality, but together they become a language of control. A traditional boss might say, "You are not doing well." An algorithmic boss does not need to say that. It can simply stop showing you good work. It can make opportunities harder to see. It can make you travel farther for the same money. That is quieter than yelling and harder to argue with, because you are not facing a person. You are facing a rule system. You ask why. The answer may be only, the system calculated it. That sentence is short, but it can trap a lot of anger. Now, this should not become a simple story where platforms are evil and workers are helpless. Reality is more complicated than that. Platforms really did create efficiency. Many people earn money through them. Many customers save time because of them. Cities changed because of them. So the point is not just never use delivery. That is too easy. The real question is, who pays the bill for efficiency? On your phone, You see 30-minute delivery. You see a coupon. You see a delivery fee. You see a little dot moving on a map. But the interface rarely reminds you what those 30 minutes contain. A restaurant may be slow. A building may block access. An elevator may take forever. There may be rain, traffic lights, confusing gates, and several orders being juggled at once. The system compresses all of that into a progress bar. The customer sees the bar and thinks, "Why is it not here yet?" The worker sees the bar and thinks, "I cannot slow down." The platform sees the bar and thinks, "This can still be optimized." Three sides are looking at the same screen. But the risk does not land evenly. Anxiety flows toward the weakest end. And that is why this episode is not only about riders. Riders are simply among the first people to live inside this kind of screen-based management. Many white-collar workers are next. You may sit in an office. You may never deliver food. But your work is also being broken into numbers. Response time. Ticket count, online time, customer score, code commits, click-through rate, conversion rate. The system tells you, a little faster today, a little more tomorrow. This customer first, this task immediately. You think you are reporting to a manager, but the manager may also be staring at a larger screen. In the age of AI, this will become even easier. Management does not need a person watching you all day. A dashboard may be enough. A rating system may be enough. An automatic assignment system may be enough. A model that predicts your productivity may be enough. More and more judgment will hide inside systems. Who should receive which task? How fast should it be done? Who is worth keeping? Who can be replaced by someone cheaper? That is the future that delivery work is showing us early. The boss does not disappear. The boss changes body. The old boss had an office, a face, and a temper. The new boss may be a screen. No face. No explanation. No feeling of cruelty. Just a sentence. According to system rules, you should be faster. So what do we do with this? It is not enough to say, fight the algorithm. Most ordinary people are not writing the rules. Most of us are not standing at a press conference. The first step is much smaller. Learn how to recognize whether a job is actually free. Do not only listen to the promise of flexible time. Ask 3 questions. Who sets the price? Who sets the time? Who bears the risk? If you do not set the price, do not set the time, do not control the rating rules, do not control access to future work, but you bear the accident, the waiting, the complaints, and the income swings, then this is not pure freedom. It is a boss hidden inside a screen. The second step is not to hand your whole life to one interface. The more a person depends on one platform, the thinner their bargaining power becomes. Today, the platform gives you work. Tomorrow the rules change, and you can only change with them. This is not only a rider problem. It can happen to creators. It can happen to sellers. It can happen to freelancers. It can happen inside companies too. If your value is fully defined by one set of metrics, you slowly become a spare part inside that system. So the real exit is not pretending we can live without systems. That is not realistic. The real exit is to stop being priced by only one system. Have skills that can travel. Have work that other people can see. Have customer relationships that do not belong entirely to one platform. Have a second road before the first road closes. That is closer to freedom. Not because an app has an exit button, but because life does not collapse after you press it. And for consumers, this is not solved by saying, never order delivery again. Of course you can order, but you should know what you are buying. You are not buying pure convenience. You are buying convenience made from someone else's chopped-up time. Sometimes slow service is not bad service. Sometimes it is just the real world finally holding back the speed of the algorithm. Do not push all the pressure of a few minutes onto the person in the street. That is not moral decoration. It is understanding how the system moves. For society, the bigger point is this. An algorithm cannot hide forever behind the phrase system calculation. If it decides people's income, rhythm, opportunity and risk, then it is not just technology. It is management. And management should be explainable, questionable, correctable, visible. Technology can be a tool. A good tool gives people more choices. A bad system leaves people with only one rhythm. A screen can help you find customers, routes, and opportunities. It can also train you to chase a countdown clock. The difference is whether you use it or it uses you. So go back to the opening scene. A rider falls. The phone is still glowing. The countdown is still moving. The scariest part is not the few minutes on the screen. The scariest part is that a person can be trained so deeply that even after falling, they first report to the screen. That is where the algorithmic boss becomes real. It does not need to stand in front of you. It only needs to live inside your reflexes. When you start rushing for it without being asked, speeding up for it without being told, punishing yourself on its behalf, then it is no longer just a tool. It has become a boss. And real freedom is not that the screen lets you log on. It is not that the screen lets you log off. Real freedom is that when you look at the screen, you can still remember, I am not its spare part. I am a person.